You are watching Mentor English Professor MA Raza. We have lot of other electronic channels for the betterment of society. For example, Palia TV1, Mentor English, Mentor Urdu, Mentor Turkish, Mentor uh, Arabic, and Jame Darulum Sheikhul Islam. So must subscribe and hit the bell icon to all. Thanks, my online family. I love you all. Welcome back, my dear viewers and my dear watchers, especially the teachers of the private institutions. So today my topic is very significant, and the topic is that elements of the novel. I have already produced many shorts on these different particular aspects of or different particular elements of the novel, but today we are going to discuss it in detail in only one class. So let's get started. In this lecture, we are going to the fundamental elements of the novel as a literary genre, and the first important element is plot. Plot is an important element as it is the series of happening related events that make up a story in a novel or any other work of literature with many other possible patterns. Plots are mostly chronological in order, which means that they proceed in the order in which events actually happen. In a carefully constructed plot, events in a story form a pattern with each incident linked in a cause and effect relationship with the other incidents. In technical terms, we need to know about various ingredients of plot. They include expositions, conflict, complications or rising actions, followed by falling actions, and finally resolution or denouement. The first part of a plot is called the expositions or background. In this part, the author introduce the main characters, establishes the settings and gives the background information required for the readers to link them together in the story. Sometimes the expositions is achieved through flashbacks, scenes or narratives out of the chronological orders, and thus presenting events that happened before the start of the story. The conflict is that struggle between two or more opposing force in a plot. Conflict is mainly of the following four types. Number one, a person against another person. Think about a hero and a villain in a story. A person against nature. A person against his society around. Two opposing elements with an individual struggling for mastery. The rising actions or complications is basically the building of tension or struggle between opposing characters or forces. The plot might include many ups and downs for the hero as part of the conflict, and there might be many directions of the struggle before it is finally resolved. The climax is the part of a plot where the story is taken a final decisive or turning point, and when the action changes its courses and begin to resolve itself. The climax also means the point of greatest interest and excitement in a story, and where the readers has the most powerful and emotional response. Falling actions is the step after the climax, when the problem is being taken to the resolution and the conflict is being finally decided one way or the another. Falling actions are the events that led the climax to the end, the resolution towards the end in a story. When all questions are usually answered and the clues are explained, the final stage tells the readers that what happens to the major characters in the story. This is the stage which is called the resolution and the denouement. Denouncement, it would be. After the French word meaning literally untying, the climax and the resolution may appear very close together and sometimes may be separated several chapters apart. You can justify in it the figure 2.0 which is coming in front of your screen to clarify the idea of a plot, its various ingredients in the plot or a story, exposition or background, conflict, rising action or complication, climax, falling actions, and at the end resolution or denouement. So plot and its ingredients, after understanding them, in other words, the novel is connected through its hundred or thousands pages by this important device which is known as the plot or story. The ability to create an interesting plot is a prerequisite of a novelist to imaginative craft at the lowest possible level of a work of fiction. The plot needs to be like a string of stock devices responsible mainly for arousing emotional and powerful responses in the reader. It is an important characteristic of a writer to capture the reader's interest at the very outset by the promise of a dynamic conflict or frustrating or mysteries that will eventually be resolved at the time of the resolution in novel. For example, in the least sophisticated fictions, the note of a conflict to be untied are strictly physical, and the resolution of denouement often comes in a form of triumphant violence. Serious fiction, on the other hand, prefer its plots developed on strong physiological situation. Thus its climax comes in various states of awareness. For example, chiefly self-knowledge on part of major characters in the story. Melodramatic plots depend on coincidence or improbability, are sometimes found in even the most elevated fiction. In such stories, the novelist is faced with the issues such as whether to represent the shapelessness of real human life with no beginning and no ends, with very few motive for action, or to create an artifact as a well balanced and economical, such as a table or chair. Since the novelist is an artist, such claims of literature as a form of art frequently prevail. There are many possibilities for constructing plots which may place some kind of desultory part, or many be no part at all. For example, the traditional Spanish by origin picaresque novel, or picaresque, that is a wrong pronunciation, picaresque novel. For example, this is a novel in which a rogue is as its major or central character. Henry Fielding's Tom Jones, published in 1749. As rogue, if you want to understand as in any when in many movies, for example, Tom Cruise Mission Impossible series, in the episode of Rogue Nation, and that is also near about, but that is just in topic, or tact is being or notion is being only, they dramatize it for Bollywood preferences. Okay, but that was a clue I give it to you as a as aesthetic approaches. 1749 is an excellent example in the regard depends for movement mainly on a series of chance stories and incidents. You will study 6 novels in this course, and in their stories you will have a chance to think about various types and possibilities for their plots. So, before going to the next important point, character and characterization, I'm extremely sorry, because particularly this lecture will be wider than the previous one, or than the actual length, because I want to complete all the elements of the novel in a single lecture. So next, characters and characterizations. There are different methods an author can use to create the personal traits of characters or character or characters in a literary work such as the novel. These methods to describe and introduce a character are called characterization. An author, for example, can develop and describe a character's appearance, personality, behavior, and speech, feelings, and thoughts, and a specific characters in interactions with other characters. Similarly, the thoughts, speech, and behavior, and the interactions with or by other characters tell us a great deal about a particular characters in a story. An author may use any or all of these methods in the same work. In addition, there are various types of characters that they may be round or flat as a stereotype characters, and they may stereotype mean like a laughing stock, or that is not too much important, and they may be dynamic or static. These terms are briefly explained here for your understanding and appreciating of the art of characterization while going through novels. A stereotype character is the one which is conventional in its look and nature, and is based on the fixed generalized ideas about people or particular groups of people. For example, the character Murdstone in David Copperfield, which you will study in our next lectures, or in unit 8 inshallah, is a stereotype of a villain in many ways. The next, a flat character. A flat character is the one which is centered around one main idea, and is usually a minor character in the story and reveals only few traits of personality. A flat character is also called two-dimensional and mostly a cartoon-like in its look. A round characters is more fully developed than a flat, which is more believable in its action and motivation. Such a characters has various characteristics or traits and can change or grow in the story. A reader can see more than one side of a round character, and is therefore called three-dimensional. Round characters are specifically written for particular stories. A dynamic character is the character, the one which can grow and develop in response to events, and therefore undergoes significant internal change throughout a story. Dynamic characters usually have major roles in a story. A static character is the one with one change at all and it stays the same, does not develop in the story, such as such a character is at the end what it was in the beginning, and readers learn very little about such a character. Secondary characters in a story are usually static by nature. Characterization is an important process for a novelist. The inferior novelists tend to be preoccupied with plot, and the superior and true novelists remain creators of characters. Send me my coffee, please. I'm feeling some throatic problems. No, only coffee. Animal caricatures and sometime where we were, yeah, with the complications of a human personalities and other characters, pre-human animal caricatures, and sometimes even very complex and unpredictable. It is also an important part of literary criticism to evaluate and analyze the nature of characters and the art of characterization in a story. Similarly, it is the job of literary critics to analyze fictional characters, thus placing the value of the views of many characters and other aspects of the personality as developed by the author in a story. As as students of English literature, you should be able to think about and comment on various types of characters as shown in the novel. You will study later in my other lectures and the related course. The next important point and important element, scene and settings, sometimes also called backdrop of a novel, is the time and place geographical location in which the action of a story occur. It is literary element, and it initiate the main backdrop and mode for a narrative. The setting can be general, for example 19th century England, or specific, for example football stadium in Newcastle, UK, January 2021. There are certain ways to describe the setting of a narrative. It may be described by the narrator or one of the characters, or it may be suggested through other devices such as dialogue, action, or imagery. The setting or scene of a novel is not always based on a real life locale or situation. The novelist, as a literary artist, may also take pride in the ability to create an overall different world. The totality of his fiction, the whole setting, as well as including the characters and their specific action in the story, in the novel, as literary form. This potential has been very creatively used by authors, setting in quite instrumental is wrong pronounced instrumental in wrong pronounced mean that's in slang language, in establishing the mood or atmosphere of work, as it strongly contributes to these features in a novel, and also determines the plausibility of the action. Moreover, the entire action of a novel is frequently determined by the local or situation in which the scene is set. However, it sometimes happens when the main situation or locale of a story undertakes importance in the imagination of readers, as compared to the characters, and yet the locale is separable from them. Setting of the novel may be the top consideration of specific readers. For example, the reader of Conrad's, I'm talking about, I'm asking about Joseph Conrad's novel, may like his stories mainly because he portrays life at sea or in the East Indies. Such readers might not be really interested in the complexity of human relationship in the story that he presents. Similarly, William William Faulkner's the great Yukon Patova scene, a classic of 20th century American literature. It is in the imaginary county of Mississippi in America. Many novelists, however, would like to go for new settings and scenes in new books and avoid repeating the old similar settings. Graham Greene and an English novelist would always need to visit a fresh scene in order to create a new unique settings in his fresh novel. His book, The Heart of the Matter, both you can say, in 1948, is a nice example of exotic setting in a single book. Through such common power of creating specific settings, certain places are romanticized by certain novelists in their stories, and their settings have become symbolic of their romance with those given places. Emily Bronte, which you will study in unit 6 of this book, he has sorry book has romanticized the Yorkshire moors in her Wuthering Heights. Similarly, Arnold Bennett takes the literary tourists to the northern England in his book John Steinbeck, to Monterey, California through his creative imagination, and James Joyce to Dublin, the city of his inexhaustible simulations, all of them by creating the powerful setting in their novels. Whatever the setting or the locale of his work, a true novelist would always be concerned with making a very credible environment for his story and for his characters. This includes a close attention to everything in the setting, from food and drink to dress and colors, and far more than the abstractions like the nature and architectures of a city or country. All these elements together are called setting or locale in the story. The next element is point of view and narrative method. That's a very significant and important method. So let's get started. Where there is a narrative, there is always a narrator. The question for narrative method or point of view is that who is telling the story. In a novel, point of view mainly has to do with the perspective with the perspective from which an author presents the events, characters, or actions of a story is called point of view. Most events can be presented from then a single point of view. The following are major point of view used by novelists: first person point of view, second person point of view, or third person point of view. First person point of view, the story in this case is told by one of the characters. The character uses pronouns such as I or we, and many also participate in the action going on in the first person point of view. The information presented must be according to the level of knowledge or experience as shown in the story. Third person point of view: when a story is related by a narrator who is not part of the story is supposed to have the third person point of view. The narrator will use pronouns such as he, she, or they. Like a newspaper, the narrator is just like a news reporter. Moreover, the third person narrator may be omniscient or limited. An omniscient storyteller is the narrator who can relate the thoughts, feelings, and perceptions of any or all characters in the story. A limited point of view narrators is the one who can relate the feelings, thoughts, and perceptions of only one character in the story. Finally, there is a third possibility for an objective point of view, describes what can only be seen. Stories are stories are mostly written in the first or third person point of view. Second person point of view is only occasionally employed. Point of view is one of the major elements which are used to stylistic analysis of a novel. The major method applied by author are therefore important for you as students of literature to understand and comment on. In addition to the brief description of narrative methods, some examples are highlighted here for your comprehension of major method and techniques used by novelists. The epistolary tellings the story through documents such as letters, methods which was introduced and most notably used by Samuel Richardson in his novel Pamela 1740, and subsequently by Jacques Rousseau or J.J. Rousseau in La Novella, or Holliage in 1761, has the major advantage of allowing the characters to tell their stories in their own words. There are certain techniques which are employed while seeking the most objective narrative method of all. Ford Madox Ford in this in his The God Soldier, published 1915, used the device of storyteller who does not understand the story he is telling. This technique is called the unreliable observer. Novelist James Joyce in his major novel used different narrators for different chapters. Most of them are unreliable narrators, and he very cleverly deploys the narrative techniques to create the disembodied parody using his unique point of view. In Ulysses, for example, an episode set in a maternity hospital is told through the medium of a parodic history of English prose style. Interestingly, the sheer ingenuity of James Joyce's specific techniques draws our attention to the manipulator in the shadows. The reader therefore gets to know about the clever approaches used by the author in addition to the story, the characters, and their actions. While closing this subsections, we should note that achieving a satisfactory narrative method or point of view is a big challenge and is nearly insoluble. The careful incursion or exclusion of a narrator's comment while telling a story, or maintaining an idiosyncratic style for novelist in a work of fiction is not a less challenging task which only an experienced and confident artist can handle. The next important element is scope or dimensions. We also need to comment on the scope or dimensions of the novel. Length is certainly one of the dimensions of the novel as a literary genre. Theoretically speaking, no novel can be took long, but it ceases to be a novel if it is too short. The most highly regarded novel of the world are of considerable length. Dostoevsky, brothers Karamazov, or servants Don Quisto, or Tolstoy, War and Peace, Dickens, Charles Dickens, David Copperfield, or Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, Proust's La Recarque, Du Temps Perdu, and so on. Also, since World War II, there emerged a kind of preferences for brevity. For example, Samuel Beckett's later novel, or that by Argentine George Louis Borges, yet length is still considered very essential when a novelist attempts to portray a specific milieu, which is certainly something bigger than the characters, thus depicting a full view of society or historic period. The scope or dimension of a fictional concept sometimes demand a technical approach to create a work written in different books into one whole, like movement of the symphony in music. The works are intelligible individually, but they have greater intelligibility depending on the themes and characters across volumes, which unify them beautifully. For example, Alexandria Quarta, 1957 to 1960, by Lawrence Durrell, insists in its very title, showing that it is tetralogy rather than a single work divided into four separate volumes. Similarly, Dance to the Music of Time by Anthony Paul is a work based on a multi-volume series of novels based on the chronological approach. The work is a study of segment of British society and the events, and brought together in one volume or another using a kind of parachronic homogeneity. The novel has a great potential to create resources where a whole society is represented with its all panoramic view. This artistic task of the novel is to bring to passionate, sensuous, and immediate life the somewhat very impersonal material of the historian. Imagine about historical novels, neither the epic nor the drama or the film could do it. It is the scope of the novel to do it. War and Peace, 1869, by Leo Tolstoy, is a great example of presenting the panoramic study of whole society. The early 19th century Russia, Boris Pasternak, another 20th century Russian writer, in his Dr. Zhivago, 1957, expressed the personal hardships of life during the Russian Revolution. On similar lines, Gone with the Wind, 1936, by Margaret Mitchell, show how the American Civil War could assume the distanced horror, pathos, and grandeur of any of the classic struggles of the old world. The point we are making the point we are making is that the length and even the weighty subject matter are no guarantee of fictional greatness in themselves. The scope of the novel as a genre is extremely important. We have novels with average length, for example Norman Miller's military novel Naked and the Dead, published in 1948, or even Miss Macintosh, My Darling 1965 by Margaret Young, considered as longest single volume novel of the 20th century, is enjoying equally great value because of their scope and dimensions. Remember that if Tolstoy War and Peace is a greater novel than Dickens' David Copperfield or Fielding's Tom Jones, it is certainly not because uh, because its subject matter is noble or more significant historically or more pathetic. It is just because Tolstoy brings to his classical panoramic drama the urgency and compressions usually regarded as the characteristics of briefer fiction. So next important point, that is myth or symbolism and significance in the novel. Among the resources of the novel, like many other forms of literature, is that the aesthetic value of the work is frequently determined by the subliminal forces such as myth and symbolism, which operate independently of the author, investing the properties of the surface story with a deeper significance of work created. The novel, in this sense, is very close to myth. Its characters are turning into symbols of permanent states or impulse, and with particular incarnations of general truth of human life. The word symbol originally mean throwing together or fusion. A symbol, unlike a sign, has more than one meaning. Some symbols are universal and they may be based on traditional associations. Other are less universal in their interpretations and approaches. A symbol is something related to concrete in nature, such as an object, characters, actions, or scenes. That signifies some things relatively abstract, such as a concept or idea. The symbolic intention or myth of a novel manifest itself less its structure than its details, making them appear naturalistic and even really something more. Even the choice of given a specific name to a character may be symbolic. Take Semi Mountjoy in William Golding's Free Fall 1959, meanings the Mount of Joy. Dr. Zhivago as an eponym meaning the living is a symbolic. The symbol with the special significance at a sub narrative level works the best when it can fit without any obtrusion, not obtrusion, any obtrusion into a context of naturalism. There are many symbolic novel in English whose infra narrative meaning cannot be easily stated. Moby Dick 1851 by Herman Melville Saint Maur 1925, a novella by D.H. Lawrence are such work in which the significance of the horse, a symbol, is very powerful and mysterious. A a novelist desire to give his work of fiction a significance beyond a mere story is natural and frequently deliberate and conscious. This is at times the primary or primary aim. Indeed, when a novel, for example, John Updike's Censure or James Joyce Ulysses or even Anthony Burgess' vision of battlements may be based on an existing classical myth, there might also be an intention of either ennobling a common subject matters, satirizing a set of social values, or merely by providing a basic fine structure, pardon me, structure to hold down a complex picture of everyday life. For for appreciating these features in a novel, one has to ask questions like, is a particular idea stressed or repeated in a work? How does a writer emphasizes certain symbolic interpretations? Do characterizations or imagery used suggest a symbolic interpretation? Last but not least, the theme is another important characteristics of fiction that an author can really think about while writer a full length novel. Themes is generally considered as the main idea or underlying means of literary works, which may or may not be directly stated by an author. It is more often implied than directly stated. A theme is usually implied through characterization, image, action, and tone. Theme is basically a larger message or concept that an author explorer to convey a larger point about everyday life or the world around us. All other elements such as characters, locale, situations, scene, or settings, for example, can work collectively to express themes or themes in work of actions. So before going further, I would like to emphasize the important points here right now about about the theme, and they are very much important. Theme is related to motif, but it is not the same. A motif is a character, idea, incident, or object that occurs in various work or even in various parts of the same work. Moreover, theme differs from subject, as subject is a topic about which an author is writing. Not all work of fictions have clear cut themes. Some mysteries novels or science fictions simply presents narrative. Other work may have more than one theme. David Copperfield, which you are going to study in my next lectures, for example, has the following theme: social class, social status, struggle, and values are in abundance throughout the novel. Good versus evil, that is another motif. The happiness, that is another motif. The happiness and its search takes prominence throughout the work. The undisciplined heart, children and their treatments, female empowerment, the role of the father. For analysis or analyzing theme in a work of fiction, do following: look for recurring images. You can easily analyze themes through the repeating images and other motifs throughout the novel. And one more thing, identify various tools the author applies to express the theme or themes in the novel. I'm very grateful to all of you that you were with me in the whole lecture, because I decided to complete the elements of the novel in a single novel. in a single lecture. So I'm very grateful to you that you were with me. And if you want to search all this or if you want to learn all this lecture in Urdu, then must subscribe Mentor Urdu or Murshid Urdu Professor MA Raza, and subscribe and hit the bell icon, and also subscribe Mentor English Professor MA Raza. And before going, I would like to request you that emphasize and comment me how many elements you learn from this lecture in the comment, and also join me in comment for any question for further. I will do my best to give you the answer of your question in a live session, and very soon. So let me go now and say with me, do something more for humanity, do something more for knowledge and practices. Have a good day. You are watching Mentor English Professor MA Raza. We have lot of other electronic channels for the betterment of society. For example, Palliative 1, Mentor English, Mentor Urdu, Mentor Turkish, Mentor Arabic, and Jame Darul Uloom Sheikhul Islam. So must subscribe and hit the bell icon to all. Thanks, my online family. I love you all.